At a recent Institute of Policy Studies lecture, a veteran civil servant and former EDB chairman Philip Yeo proposed an unconventional strategy to address Singapore's declining birth rate, what he described as efforts to kidnap young foreign talent. Yeo referred to the low number of births, around 35,000 in the past year, as the country's biggest challenge. Singapore's total fertility rate remained at 0.97 in 2024, unchanged from the record low in 2023. This marks the second consecutive year the TFR has fallen below 1. During the session, Yeo jokingly proposed a drastic measure. "So we need to go and kidnap. And when I was at EDB, I specialized in kidnapping," he said. He later clarified that kidnapping referred to identifying and bringing in bright young students, as young as 15, from countries such as Vietnam, India, and China. "Bring them in young. They grow up to be Singaporeans," Yeo explained, adding that those who arrive after the age of 21 tend not to assimilate. He advocated offering free education from secondary school up to junior college, describing it as a way to create ready-made Singaporeans. When asked how young Singaporeans might feel threatened by such a policy, Yeo recounted a personal anecdote involving his son, who had once questioned the influx of Vietnamese students and the competition they posed in local schools. Yeo responded, "If Singapore cannot compete, it's their fault." He elaborated that these foreign students, driven by a hunger for success, stayed in dormitories and spent their weekends studying. Ultimately, because these kids are really hungry. "If Singapore kids are not hungry, good luck to them," he added. Under Mothership's TikTok post, over 1,000 comments poured in, with many netizens questioning the logic behind Yeo's remarks, particularly the suggestion that sponsoring foreigners' education could help address Singapore's low birth rate. One user questioned the rationale, asking how sponsoring foreigners' education was supposed to solve the declining birth rate. They added that it would make more sense to focus on making it affordable for citizens to have children, rather than providing benefits to foreigners. Another commenter echoed this frustration, saying that everything is already so expensive for Singapore citizens, and yet there is a proposal to offer free education and lodging to foreigners. "Everything is so expensive for Singapore citizens, and yet you're proposing free education and lodging for foreigners?" they asked. Several netizens also took issue with Yeo's comparison between foreign students and locals, calling it an unfair framing of the issue. One commenter noted that while foreigners may be highly motivated to study, because they have less to lose and the option to return home, Singaporean children are born here and have no such alternative. "What about our kids who are born here? Where can they go?" the user asked. Another user highlighted the imbalance between the responsibilities and benefits faced by Singaporeans versus foreign students. They argued that Singaporeans are required to fulfill obligations, such as paying taxes and serving national service, that foreigners do not. Yet it appears that foreigners are being offered more attractive benefits in return. Many netizens argued that the true reason behind Singapore's declining birth rate lies in the high cost of living. One user pointed out that the rising cost of living has left people afraid to even get married, let alone start families and have children. Others questioned whether policymakers truly understood the daily pressures young families face. Is it so difficult for the government to understand people can't make babies when they have so much of bills and stress in their daily lives? One asked. Another netizen highlighted the issue of economic insecurity and job competition. They argued that when blue-collared Singaporeans are forced to compete with foreign talents for salaries and opportunities, it is unrealistic to expect them to feel secure enough to start a family. A further comment questioned the logic of encouraging people to have children without addressing the underlying financial challenges. The user pointed out that with the cost of living so high, the GST increased, and jobs going to foreigners instead of Singaporeans, having babies simply does not make sense to many. Several users argued that if the government genuinely wants to boost birth rates, the priority should be to support Singaporeans first, not foreign students. One user questioned why free education was not being offered to Singapore citizens instead. Why not free education for SG citizens so that people will be less concerned about the money required to raise kids and have more kids? Another commenter echoed this sentiment, stating that if the aim is to push for higher birth rates, it would make more sense to provide free education to locals rather than foreigners. A more holistic approach was also proposed by one user, who called for lower costs in key areas such as housing, food, and schooling for young parents. They also advocated for improved workplace laws that would allow parents to spend more time with their children, similar to policies seen in some European countries. These responses reflect widespread frustration over what many perceive as misplaced policy priorities, and they reveal a clear call for the government to address the structural and financial challenges faced by local families before turning to imported solutions.